Queen Camilla breaks down in tears after a private royal decision forces her out of Buckingham Palace, triggering a storm of emotion, hidden letters, and a power shift no one expected. What happened behind those closed doors changes everything. Queen Camilla starts crying after being forced out of Buckingham Palace. Tension inside Buckingham Palace reaches a breaking point after days of turmoil over Diana's resurfaced letter. Senior courtiers finally summon Camilla to a small private sitting room, far from the grand halls where she once felt secure. Their tone is calm but cold as they deliver the message. She must step back from palace life for a period to protect the crown's stability. It isn't called punishment, but to Camilla, it feels indistinguishable from exile. She asks again to see the letter that sparked the crisis. The reply is gentle, rehearsed. William won't share it, and pushing for access could inflame matters. Her voice shakes as she says, "So she gets the last word, and I get none?" In that moment, the years she spent rebuilding her public image collapse into a single, devastating silence. As she walks through a back corridor toward a discreet exit, staff witness something almost unheard of. Camilla crying openly, wiping her cheeks as her shoulders tremble. No balcony waves, no cameras. Just a woman leaving through a side door of the palace she fought so long to be accepted in. A waiting black car carries her to Clarence House, then continues toward Ray Mill House in Wiltshire, her private refuge. Each mile deepens the feeling that she is not stepping aside temporarily, but being gently removed from the center of royal power. And as the car disappears from London, Camilla has no idea that another event, thousands of miles away in Montecito, is about to make everything even worse. The Montecito package, how Diana's final warning ignites the crisis. The chaos unfolding in London is unknowingly mirrored across the ocean in calm, sunlit Montecito. Harry returns home from a walk to find a small parcel on the doorstep. No signature, no note, only a faded UK stamp and a delivery time marked 3:12 p.m. The box is velvet-lined, unusually heavy for its size. When he lifts the lid, his breath stops. Inside lies a folded letter sealed with Diana's personal crest, the same design he remembers from childhood birthdays and school notes. The handwriting is unmistakable, looping the way she always wrote his name. He breaks the seal slowly. The first line shakes him. "My dearest boys, if you are reading this, then something I feared has come true." This doesn't read like a goodbye. It reads like a warning. A message written in the last stretch of her life, meant to be opened only if the world around her sons became dangerous or dishonest. One name appears again and again: Camilla. Diana describes emotional isolation, the feeling of three in this marriage, and the quiet influence she believed shaped decisions inside the royal household. Harry recognizes these ideas from the 1995 interview, but seeing them in her own handwriting hits differently. Harder, deeper, unbearably real. Then he reaches the line that freezes him entirely. Protect each other. Trust what you see, not what they tell you. His hands shake. This letter doesn't just speak about the past. It challenges everything about the royal structure he walked away from. It questions loyalty, truth, and the stepmother now wearing the crown. By the time Harry sets the letter down, the crisis in London has already begun. And neither he nor William realizes that this single message, delivered across 5,400 miles, is about to reshape the monarchy's future. Diana's written truth about Camilla and the royal machine. Harry sits at his Montecito desk, the letter spread open, pages trembling under his hands. As he reads deeper, the tone sharpens. Diana is no longer describing fear. She is documenting patterns she believed were shaping the palace from the inside. Again and again, she names Camilla, not with hatred, but with cold clarity. She writes of the long silences that replaced affection, the sudden shifts in Charles's mood, the tours rearranged after quiet conversations, the subtle pressure she felt long before the world knew the full story. None of this sounds dramatic on the page. It sounds controlled, almost clinical. Diana notes how the household treated her as emotional, while Camilla was painted as calm and dignified. She writes, "They decide who is stable and who is inconvenient." That line cuts Harry deeply, echoing exactly what Diana said in 1995, but here it is written privately, without cameras or editors. It feels like truth preserved for her sons alone. Diana doesn't instruct them to hate anyone. Instead, she warns them. She is not your enemy, but she is not your ally either. The nuance is what unsettles Harry most. His mother isn't attacking Camilla. She is mapping the system around her, a system she feared would swallow her sons if they weren't careful. She reminds them to remember who she really was, not the tabloid character, not the palace myth, but the mother who held them during thunderstorms at Kensington, the woman who took them to shelters, hospitals, and ordinary streets. She writes, "When power shifts, stories shift. Hold on to mine." Harry sits back, overwhelmed. His mother isn't only explaining the past, she is warning them about the future, a future that in 2020 he thought he escaped. And now her words are pointing him directly back into the storm. The countryside summit. William reads the letter and the brothers reset. Harry arrives quietly in the UK, slipping into a private countryside estate far from Windsor or palace eyes. No staff, no formal greetings, just a cold room, two brothers, and the letter that has shaken Harry since the moment he opened it. William walks in tense, expecting an argument, not a revelation. Harry doesn't speak. He simply hands him the pages. William recognizes Diana's handwriting instantly. His face drains of color before he even reaches the second paragraph. For nearly 10 minutes, he is silent, flipping back and forth, stopping at the lines describing loneliness, cold corridors, and Camilla's growing influence. These are the wounds he buried deep after 1997, never expecting to face again. Then he whispers, "I wasn't ready for this." It's not anger, it's regret. Regret for the last rushed phone call at Balmoral. Regret for shutting out the hard truths about their mother. Regret for trying so hard to protect the monarchy that he forgot to examine what it cost her. What follows is raw but human. They don't argue about spare versus heir. They don't mention Meghan, the press, or royal duties. They talk about Diana, the woman who knelt on hospital floors, who hugged strangers, who fought the system but adored her boys. For the first time in years, they grieve together instead of apart. William asks, barely audible, "Did we make a mistake letting this become our normal?" Harry doesn't answer. He doesn't need to. The truth is sitting on the table between them. As they step outside into the cold air, neither brother feels fixed. But something is no longer broken. And while they reset in the quiet countryside, London prepares for a storm that will hit the palace walls next. From Buckingham to Ray Mill, how the palace forces Camilla to step aside. While William and Harry are still processing the letter, palace walls in London begin to tremble. A loyal aide, shaken by what he overheard during the brothers' countryside meeting, quietly relays one alarming detail to senior courtiers. Camilla is named directly in Diana's words. Within hours, a confidential briefing is arranged, not to protect a family member, but to protect the image of the crown itself. Inside a small meeting room at Buckingham Palace, senior officials break the news to the king. They speak carefully, but the message is firm. Keeping Camilla visible during a moment shaped by Diana's voice could damage public trust, especially among younger generations who still see Diana as a symbol of truth. Charles feels the blow deeply. Their marriage survived decades of scrutiny, and now a single resurfaced letter threatens to undo it. A meeting is scheduled. Camilla arrives expecting strategy, but instead she's told she must step back from major duties for a period, a phrase that feels far colder than intended. She is warned that appearing at high-profile events could inflame the public mood. When she quietly asks to read the letter, she's told William will not release it. Her voice shakes as she whispers, "So she gets the last word, and I get none?" Her exit is stripped of ceremony. No balcony, no photographers, just a side corridor and a waiting car. Staff watch something they have rarely seen in 20 years. Camilla wiping tears, shoulders trembling, trying to hold dignity where she feels none. The car pulls away from Buckingham Palace toward Ray Mill House, her private sanctuary, leaving behind a silent question hanging inside the palace gates. If Diana's voice can still move the monarchy, what happens now that it has returned? Ray Mill House, the private bolt hole where Camilla falls apart. The car carries Camilla far from Buckingham Palace, heading west toward Ray Mill House, the only place where she can breathe without the weight of titles or cameras. This house, bought in the 1990s, was always her refuge. Messy, warm, full of dogs and family noise. But today, as she steps inside, it feels like a hiding place rather than a home. Staff close the curtains before she even removes her coat. She doesn't turn on the TV, the headlines still reach her through whispers and messages. Each update cuts deeper. Diana's letter has gone global. Sympathy is flooding toward the late princess, and questions about Camilla's role are spreading fast. For a woman who spent decades slowly building public acceptance, the reversal feels unbearable. To a close friend, she finally breaks, saying, "I thought I'd earned peace." The words are small but heavy. Her life's work, campaigning on osteoporosis, literacy, and domestic violence, feels overshadowed by a single resurfaced narrative. The past she believed she had outgrown is suddenly alive again. Advisors urge her to speak out, to defend herself with facts, interviews, or statements. But Camilla refuses, shaking her head as she repeats, "You can't defend yourself against a ghost." She knows any response would be twisted into a competition between two women, one living and one immortalized by tragedy. As she sits alone in her quiet kitchen, a world away from the polished halls of Clarence House, the truth sets in. Stepping back may not be temporary. The palace is adjusting without her already. Her chair is empty. Her diary is cleared. Her future is uncertain. And while she cries in the privacy of Ray Mill, the public storm outside only grows louder and far harder for the monarchy to control. Media firestorm, Diana versus Camilla, all over again. Within 48 hours, the story explodes across global media. Leaks about a supposed Diana letter warning her sons about Camilla hit major outlets, and the reaction is instant. Commentators describe it as a voice from the grave, shaking the monarchy. And suddenly, the years people were told to forget come roaring back. Old footage from 1997 resurfaces. Diana walking through landmine fields, visiting AIDS wards, and speaking about pain behind palace doors. The contrast between her openness and Camilla's careful quietness forms the core of the new public debate. On social media, hashtags flood timelines, hashtag Diana's letter, hashtag royal reckoning, hashtag not my queen. Younger generations, already less attached to monarchy according to polls earlier in the 2000s, now feel vindicated. Many say they always sensed there was more to Diana's suffering than the official story allowed. The resurfaced letter feels like confirmation, even though it hasn't been shown publicly. Snap polling in the UK scenario reveals a sharp dip in trust in the institution and a noticeable drop in Camilla's favorability. William and Catherine remain stable, but the Queen Consort's absence from palace events becomes a talking point. Each empty chair she leaves behind at a formal gathering becomes another symbol of a crown shaken by its past. TV panels, podcasts, and live streams revisit the old narrative. Diana as the wronged woman, Camilla as the shadow figure, and Charles caught in a tightening storm. Some say the monarchy is facing its most emotional crisis since 1996. Others argue that the institution ignored Diana's warnings for too long. And through all this noise, one question rises louder each day. Has Queen Camilla become a liability for the crown? The storm is no longer historical. It is happening in real time, and it is gaining speed. Charles under siege, marriage, monarchy, and the cost of protecting Camilla. Inside the quiet halls of Buckingham Palace, pressure mounts on King Charles as the fallout from Diana's resurfaced letter spreads faster than anyone expected. Public anger grows by the day, and commentators now call it the monarchy's most emotional crisis since 1997. Officially, Charles cancels several engagements citing reflection, but those inside the palace know the truth. He is exhausted, torn between defending the woman he loves and safeguarding an institution older than 1,000 years. Advisors split into two camps. One insists Charles must stand firmly beside Camilla to avoid reviving the scandals of the 1990s. The other warns that continuing to show Camilla at the center of royal life could damage public trust beyond repair. Every poll, headline, and panel discussion seems to support the second view. The pressure is relentless. In private, Charles meets William and Harry in a rare three-way conversation. His voice cracks as he admits, "I know I failed her in many ways, but I never stopped caring." He means Diana, and both sons know it. The moment is heavy, decades of guilt, silence, and emotional distance filling the room. Neither brother responds immediately. Too much has been left unsaid for too long. Meanwhile, strategy meetings behind closed doors become colder and more practical. Can Camilla remain the visible queen consort at the heart of Buckingham Palace? Or must the firm shift more attention toward William and Catherine to stabilize the crown? One aide says quietly, "The crown will survive, but the faces wearing it may not." The pressure now threatens to reshape the monarchy itself. And with Camilla hidden at Ray Mill, Charles is left to face a storm he can no longer control. A storm born from the past, but demanding answers in the present. Diana's voice reignites a generation, and Harry speaks without naming names. Across the world, interest in Princess Diana explodes again. Documentaries climb streaming charts, and clips of her compassion and quiet pain spread across TikTok. many posted by users born after 1997. They call her the princess who felt real, and the resurfaced letter only fuels that emotion. Bookstores report rising sales of Diana biographies, and podcasts debate whether she was a victim of the royal machine or its first true challenger in the 20th century. Online support centers around Harry. Many point out he relied on Diana's inheritance in 2020, which now looks like she had prepared him for independence long before he realized it. The public begins to frame the letter as emotional proof that she was guiding him still. Then Harry appears at a Veterans' Gala, his first public event in months. He delivers a warm speech, then pauses before adding, "Some truths come from a voice that never got to finish her story." He never says letter, Camilla, or even Diana, but everyone understands. The clip goes viral within 24 hours. To supporters, it feels like Diana speaking through him. To critics inside the palace, it feels like gasoline poured on a fire, already burning out of control. Forced out or stepping back. What Camilla's tears mean for the future of the crown. From the outside, the story looks brutally simple. Queen Camilla leaving Buckingham Palace in tears, retreating to Ray Mill House, and disappearing from public view after Diana's words resurfaced. But inside the institution, nothing is simple. Officially, she is taking time at her private residence, yet roles around her are quietly reassigned, and events move forward without her chair being filled. Each absence feels less temporary, more permanent. William steps into duties with sharper focus, leaning into Diana-style causes, while Harry keeps a careful distance but stays in quiet contact. The letter tying them together even as old wounds remain. Charles now faces the hardest choice of his reign: stand firmly beside the woman he loves, or shift the monarchy's weight toward the next generation. And through it all, one truth sits beneath every headline: Diana is reshaping the palace again, even in silence. Diana's shadow rises, and the palace may never recover again.